It's our green room.
Nice. Hey, everybody. It's Monday night. It's Always Bookin Comedy. We're here with Mike McDermith. Did I say that right?
Yep, you sure did.
From Mahomet, Illinois.
Mahomet, Illinois. Yep.
Whoa, crushing it. 2 for 2. Unbelievable. What a sweet backdrop Mike has there. I'm so excited to talk to you, Mike. Tell us about Yellow & Co. and how you fell into comedy.
Oh well, it's quite a bit of a long story, so I won't bore you with all the details. But we started out. So I have a day job. This is not my full time job. It's my second full time job.
Okay.
Uh, I'm an IT director, and I met my wife, and she's a creative decorator artist, and she was doing designs and paintings and all types of creative stuff. And this was back in 2009. Things were kind of slowing down, and she started doing wine and paint parties. The sip and paint.
Yeah.
And she lived in a nearby town. This was our second marriage for both of us. So we were dating, and I would travel and help her with these wine and paint parties. Once we got married, we had a studio in Mahomet in our own town, and she was doing all the art stuff there. And people kept walking in and think it was like a retail shop. So she
Okay.
was like, "Oh, I think we need to add some retail." So then 6 months, she's like, "I think we need a bigger space." So we moved down the street. We were on our main street, and we had a classroom in the back and the boutique in the front. And the boutique just kept kind of growing and growing and growing. So we eventually expanded into a space next to ours and moved the studio over there. So we had one spot was all art studio, one spot was all retail. COVID came and went. After that, nobody really wanted to paint. So we were just sitting in the space one day, like, what can we do with the space? And we're like, we could do comedy. We're big comedy fans. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, we had a stage, we had a sound system, we had tables and chairs. At the time, we had a BYOB license. And we're like, let's give it a shot. So we reached out to a local booker, and they brought in some comics. And I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. I said, but I kind of think I want to like find the people myself. So I reached out to a regional comic. He came in. I was like, okay, this is really cool. So then my first like national comic was Adam Grabowski. He was on America's Got Talent. And I found him, and of course you're starting out, right? So you don't want to pay. You're like worried about paying, and are it's going to be successful. So he was actually flying home to Chicago for Thanksgiving. And I was like, would you want to come down the Wednesday before and like do two
How far
shows?
is how far is Mahomet from Chicago?
Oh, about 2 to 3 hours, depending what part of
Okay.
Chicago. And he was in Arizona, so I really
Okay.
didn't want to, pay for the flight. So he did that, and I tell you what, that was a lot of fun. So we were like, you know what? I think there's something here. So for about a year, we were doing wine and paint parties sometimes, a little bit of comedy, music, and that kind of thing. And it was a pain because you had to have nice chairs for the comedy shows, but you'd have painty chairs. And eventually, after a year, we're like, you know what? No more. Let's do straight comedy, some other events. And so we did that for a year. And we're like, okay, we got something here. So we just built a brand new building, moved into it in 2024 in May, kind of built a suit, everything that I learned over that period of time.
Sure.
We built it. And so we got a dedicated green room. We had bigger bar, more bathrooms, all that kind of stuff. So it really worked out, and it's been a ton of fun. I have no background in this whatsoever, besides just being a big comedy fan.
Nice. So, okay, I got so many questions for you, but I think the first one is the sip and paint business gone now? And
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just comedy. Unbelievable. Okay,
Yep.
wild. Now, tell me about the lessons you learned going into this build out.
Oh,
Like what were some of the pain points? And then maybe like if you had $1 million fell into your lap or whatever, what would you do on the next build out after that?
well, definitely. One thing I learned, and I'm not afraid of constructive criticism. So anytime I'd have an artist in, comedian in, and I would be done with the show, and I would just ask him, what could I do differently? What
Okay.
could we do to improve? Right. So
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know what I was
That's
doing
very
when I started
comedy of
out.
you, by the way.
So I had a little stage, and I put a spotlight up, and they're like, "Oh, you need to move that spotlight back further." Okay, I moved it back further. Okay, bring the people closer to the stage. Okay, I bring everybody. So I just started doing everything that gave me. Until this day, I still ask them, "Hey, what can we do differently? What can we do
Yeah.
to improve?" So we have this gift shop that's tied to our venue. So when people come to a show, they come in through the gift shop. And let me just quick tell you, that's how we got our name, because the gift shop's called Yellow and Co.
Okay.
And we added it. Well, we weren't going to come up with some weird name, so we just kept it the same. So it's Yellow and Co. and Yellow and Co. Events. We had a bright yellow door at the original building, and that's where the yellow came from.
Huh.
So sometimes people call us a gift shop comedy club. It's not like I just got a few t-shirts. This is like a full blown gift shop. Very cool. And it's like really bright. And then you come into our side, it's kind of dark, it's kind of mysterious. But at the original place, since it was kind of an afterthought, we didn't think we were going to do that. The door was in the middle of the room. There wasn't it was real awkward to get to the second bathroom. Just a lot of stuff that you're like, you know what? If I was going to do this over,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it better. We had a single door. So when we went to the new building, we're like, okay, let's put the door between the two in the back. So we're not disturbing anybody that they come into the show late. Okay, let's make it a double wide, because people are coming and going, and that way they could both fit. We added another bathroom, and we made the third bathroom easy accessible in the boutique. So technically we have 3 bathrooms. And then we added like a patio. We got garage doors we can open up on nice days of weather. I got a dedicated green room. Before, it was a supply closet, basically. And I would swap out stuff in and out to make it decent. And I say decent. And so it was, it's just those type of things you learn, right? And I installed a red light so you can see it from the stage. You can flip the switch. All my lights are on dimmers. Nice. So I can make it darker or lighter. I added, 2 additional spotlights. I got a bigger stage. So those type of things. In terms of the next phase, well, we can do about 100, 110. Maybe I can squeeze in a few more people. I mean, I would definitely, you think, oh, that's enough. And then you're thinking, okay, I would like to go a little bigger, because the bigger you get.
Yeah. I mean, once you sell 110, you're like, dang it, there's 50 people who would give me money right now, and it would cost me nothing extra.
Yep. And so you're like, okay, maybe that would be nice. And you get maybe some bigger names that maybe you couldn't get before, that type of thing.
You're getting big names.
Yeah, we're pretty happy.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job with the booking. I guess so anything else besides adding more seats?
Really, I mean, you'd love to get a green room that's bigger. It has a bathroom, like a personal bathroom for it, and get all the amenities for them. So we don't have that quite yet. So yeah, maybe down the road, if we decide to get bigger, we would do something like that, make it a little bit more. It's a decent green room. It's a lot better than what I had before. So I just look at that.
Yeah. Nice. Let's talk about booking. So you started out, you asked a local booker, and then you went to a regional comic, and now you're getting like some of the biggest names. Like, I don't want to give away anything, but I don't know how much of your schedule is public, but there was like somebody who I worked at a major comedy club. This is like a 400 seater. That's a national brand, and they're doing Mahomet with you. So talk about that transition and any lessons you learned, anything you would do differently, anything you tell yourself when you got started.
Well, of course, again, I will just preface it by saying I had no idea what I was doing, right? So I'm reaching out to these comics, and my motto has always been, it can't hurt to ask, right? They tell me no. Okay, I get it.
What do you, like, Instagram DM? What do you mean reach out?
Yeah, I mean, DMing people makes it sound weird, but yeah. So you're reaching out to them, Instagram, their websites, anything. But what I found was, well, first of all, when we decided to do this, we really felt like we want to differentiate ourselves from some other venues. So we just said, we're going to go with accredited artists. So ideally, we're going with people that have been on TV, film, maybe the America's Got Talent, some, what bigger names, whatever I could draw. And not that I'm against a regional or a showcase, or I'll do this once in a while, but the main thing is I want to establish quality comedians that I can build trust, that the community around us goes, oh, okay, I may have not heard of that person, or I've not seen that person live or a clip of them, but I trust Mike, or I trust the venue that they're bringing in good quality people. So I started doing that. I started making sure that I watched them. And if they didn't make me laugh, I didn't have them, right? And I really wanted to say, like, I put a stamp of approval on everybody that we have. My wife, she laughs at everything. I'm a much harder laugh. So I know if I could get myself to laugh. So when I did that, you get a good product, you bust your hump trying to get people in the door, and the people will appreciate it, and then they'll say, you know what, let me recommend you to people. So now it's a lot of building a network, right? And that's how we connected up, was through somebody that had been here. So you try your hardest to give a good product to not only the audience but to the artist that's here. And then when you're done, the other thing I always ask them, do you know anybody else that would be a good fit for us, right? So
Yeah.
what can we do better? And then I always say, be candid, you're not going to hurt my feelings. And then what else can we do? And then I would say 80% of the time they want to come back. So
Nice.
it's a nice problem to have. So I can't remember the original part of the question, but yeah, that's what it is. And I guess, you asked me what I would do differently. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So you go into it and you kind of accept sometimes, what's your rate? And they just tell you your rate. You're like, okay, I'll pay you that, because that must be what you're doing. Or you may think they're a bigger comic than what they are. And I found that, I get somebody in and I watch them, oh, they're really good. And then you find out, yeah, they haven't really headlined that many places. So you kind of start to learn, I need to ask more questions and dig in a little deeper. That's probably the thing. And that's just experience, right? And you do that, right? So you have to get experience learning.
Yep.
Ask those questions. And then it goes back to, you know what? Can't hurt to negotiate. It can't hurt to ask, because you just never know. You may come out better, but long as I know that at the end of the day, I've given that artist a good product or a good experience, then I feel good about myself. I can, sleep at night and I feel good. So.
Yeah, that's great. I want to show a comment from online. Thank you, Joseph Rogers. Just saying that Mike's doing good work. And just a reminder, if you're watching online and it's live, you can type questions in on Twitch and YouTube, and we'll answer them. We got a comedy club owner, and I'm a working comedian. So if you got a question about comedy and the business of comedy, we're your people to ask. Okay, this is always a fun topic for people. Might be tough for you. Let's talk about some fails. Like, what's something that went horribly wrong? Did you ever, I don't know, not sell enough tickets, or the power went out, or your bartender was sick, or let's hear about some challenges.
Yeah, I mean, some of that's just nature of the beast, right? It's just nature of what you're doing. We started out small. I mean, we are technically still small. I mean, my staff is, have basically 3 bartenders that I run through there, and my daughter, who turned 21, she jumps in once in a while. She's got her Bassett, and so yeah, the other day my bartender was Bassett training. This is a certification for being able to serve alcohol.
It's an acronym, bartending something. Okay.
Yeah, I think it must be an Illinois thing. Yeah. So I'm sorry, out of habit, I said it.
That's okay.
He was late, but the other weird thing about it is my son was visiting out of town. I was like, hey, can you sit people? I'm going to jump behind the bar. And so he jumped in, was seating people, and he was telling me it was more stressful than he thought it would be. Just seating people, and people wanting to be in the back, and you're trying to get them in the
I know that game. I know it well.
You're just like, so those type of things. There's always the sound problems, about you may do your best to make sure sound's good, and then all of a sudden you get this weird echo. And I'm not a sound guy. I'm learning a little bit of it, but it's definitely a nuance. And I got a couple guys that are really good, and they'll come in and do some of the music shows that we do. But that's always tough. I've really been pretty fortunate. I haven't had any, I better knock on something, any major issues with the show. You had some cancellations, we also do some live music, and we also focus on accredited musicians. And I had one musician he was more local. I think we don't know if we had anybody show up for the show. That was the only time I've had one show that nobody showed up for it. I was actually out of town, so I didn't get the full guilt of it. My workers had to.
Yeah.
The poor guy. So, he got on stage. We filmed some stuff for him to make him some good videos, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of tough, right? I mean, and I've had that, right? You're on the phone and you're last minute, you're wheeling and dealing, and you're trying to get people in the door, and you're giving away tickets, and you're messaging different people hey, you're, whatever you can do to get, because for me, especially when you're starting out, if I lose money, I lose money. I just got to get, the proverbial butts in the seats, right? You just got to fill the room, because again, if the artist comes in and they have 15 people that show up, again, 15 people, right? It's not, unless they're amazing people, it's hard energy to get out of 15 people.
Yeah.
So even if you take a loss, but you can get 35 people in there and they got good energy and you seat the room just right, it still feels like a good experience. And
Yeah.
then they'll go, okay, I'm willing to give it another shot. I'll come back. So yeah, it's a lot of that. I always say I long for the day I don't have to work so hard to get people in the door.
Yeah. Oh man, don't we all? But at the same time, you want to make the room twice as big. You're just gonna make it harder on yourself.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a good transition into let's talk about getting butts in seats.
yeah,
What are some things you did early on that worked well, that didn't work well? What do you do these days? What would you tell
yeah,
yourself if you went back to give yourself some
yeah.
advice?
Well, I mean, you know how it is. Social media is part of that, right? And our demographics, a Facebook demographic, so we do a lot of Facebook stuff, paid ads, and just I don't know how many groups I belong to, but I'm sharing it, every time into all these groups at different times, and different days, and different events, and so there's a lot of that. Some Instagram, it's harder on me. I need to find a social media person. I just TikTok. Oh boy, that's a tough one. I need to be doing more out there. It's not really our audience, but there are some people that do get their stuff off TikTok, right? So you have the
Mhm.
proverbial social media. Um, it's a lot of old school. Like we in the gift shop, we put little bag stuffers with all our events. I got slides going. I got a little display in the store of all our events. I'm putting yard signs out front by our entrance. I'm going to the post office. I'm going to the other businesses around town. I'm putting up flyers. Now I've always done that. That's been pretty much a common thing. We're both my wife and I are involved in the Chamber of Commerce, so we're working with these other groups. We're getting sponsors. We're talking to other businesses. You go out and you give away free tickets to the policemen and the fire department and the nurses and you're just trying to get just any exposure you can. I've set up at festivals. I've set up market, like a big display. I've ran music at some running events.
Tell me about the festivals. Is this like a farmer's market type thing?
I've done farmers markets.
So
I've
what
done,
do? You bring a table and like a tent?
yeah, I actually have two like portable walls and I print out all my posters and I put them on the wall and I put them in front of the table and I just hand out flyers and I talk to people and it does catch people's eye, right? When you're walking along and you look over and you go, oh, wait a minute, that's a gal from America's Got Talent. That's Erica Rhodes. What the heck
Yeah.
is she doing on that poster? Or that's Ryan Einmiller, or what the heck? So you put them out there and it worked.
How I have so many questions about
Yeah.
this. Let's start with the portable walls.
Yeah.
What is a portable wall?
So my wife has these great ideas. She's an artist, right? So she's like, build me this or build me that. So I
Oh,
would go,
like when you go to an arts fair and the
yeah,
paint drawers, I can't use my words. The painters
yeah.
put up their paintings on those. Yeah, okay. They look kind of like cubicle walls.
They are, but I made my own. These are like the door panels that are hinged.
Okay.
And they fold up, and then I put a kind of a brace on the back of it so they don't fall over.
Huh.
And I'll take those.
You have a truck?
I did have a truck, and then I gave it to my daughter, so she's local, so I can grab it anytime I want. But yeah,
Okay.
longest time I actually had a truck until I realized if I'm going to be picking up like artists, I should probably have a nicer vehicle. So I bought like a nice black kind of SUV, and so it looks a little bit nicer. But
Nice.
she's local, so I can get it anytime I need.
Yeah. Does Mahomet have an airport?
No, the closest one is Champaign-Urbana, which is
Okay.
the airport's probably 25 minutes away.
Okay.
It's I picked some people up there before, but I've also gone to Bloomington Normal. I've gone to Chicago, picked some people up too as well, and drop people off. So
Nice. I got more questions about the fair thing, but I want to say hi to Blazin Wilson. Anybody tuning in and saying hi? He
hello.
or she is saying hello too. I don't know. All right. So this arts fair, do you have to pay like a table fee?
And sometimes I have,
Okay.
sometimes I haven't. I did one it was like a lumberjack festival in Champaign-Urbana. It was so cold and it was miserable. No, actually, that one was free too. I think most of them, if you're not selling something, they're okay at being free. So
Okay.
that was like
Okay.
informational. So,
Okay.
and then our local town one, they'd have one like every Wednesday night, and they'd be selling produce and that type of thing. And there's some other makers of stuff that are there. And it was okay. It got to a point where I felt like in our town, which is about 10,000 people, majority of people know that we're here now. So I don't have to work as so much hard here to get the word out. They
Sure.
know where we are. They know where to look. When we moved to a more busy highway. We had a bigger
Okay.
sign, so naturally that's going to help. A couple of things that I did was I teamed up with the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I reached out to them and I got a hold of, I don't know how, some type of business group. And I was a project. I was one of their class projects where
Oh, cool. That's so smart.
I've done it twice. And the students would talk to me and I tell them what I'm trying to accomplish, expand my reach. What do I do differently in social media? And both times they come back with projects and suggestions on what to do. And it's free.
Uh-huh.
So it's all about trying to find your bang for your buck, right? I joined the Chamber of Commerce in Champaign-Urbana. They always have coffees and social hours and other events. So
I,
networking.
let's put your IT prowess to the test here. What percentage of your audience comes from Champaign-Urbana?
I've been trying to track that stuff, and it's been difficult. So you'll enjoy this. Ticket system I got was I put the zip code in there to try to get the zip code. I can't figure out how to exactly pull that information. The other challenge is we do allow people to buy tickets in person in the boutique,
Sure. Yeah.
and if our workers don't put the zip code down,
Yeah.
so
But subjectively, without hard numbers, you know that
yeah,
it sounds like you get customers who make that 25-minute drive.
yeah. So on one end of Champaign, we're about 15 minutes. The other one, we're probably about
Okay.
25. So it's relatively close.
Yeah. Is there not a comedy club there?
Just a local booker
Okay.
that will do some restaurants.
Just like independent shows.
The one that I used initially.
Yeah.
So I support them because I want them to be successful.
Yep.
But they do some other towns around here
Yeah.
as well. But they'll do the university. They'll do some other towns. There's 2 open mics run by different people that are in town as well. So I can go in there and look at talent, if you will.
Yeah. So let's talk about local talent. So a typical club or show will have like a host or a feature that's usually like somebody on the local side. Do you get folks from Chicago? Or are you getting Champaign-Urbana as a college town? Are you getting folks from there? Is there a comedy community in Mahomet? Do you run like an open mic thing to encourage that? Talk about that a little bit.
We don't have an open mic. I don't run an open mic. Again, I kind of felt like I wanted to just do the national touring accredited artists, kind of keep that level. I think open mics are definitely necessary, and you do need those. So there's a couple in Champaign. We're kind of in a triangle. There's like Champaign-Urbana. There's Decatur, Illinois, Springfield, and Bloomington Normal. That's not necessarily a triangle. That's more than a triangle, but there's communities in each of those towns. So I pull from all of those to find artists that will be my host. I typically have a host and then a feature. Sometimes I'll throw in a guest spot, depending if somebody's around or at the show. And of course, you start out booking people that are local. But as we've grown, I've now pulling features from Chicago, features from Indianapolis. I've gotten some from Michigan, St. Louis, Louisville. So I've started to pull a bigger pool, which is great because I have some folks that come to almost every show we do. Well, at least one couple that comes to every show. And I like to have even new features that are doing different material. And so even they're not getting like, hey, I know that person. I know their jokes, So the more if I can expand, the better. And I also do a comedy competition every year. This is our 4th year. And that actually pulls people from, I've had LA and Texas and New York. And so as well as I'll get some people that way.
Huh. Is there a prize or is it just what's the prize?
So we do $400 cash prize and a feature spot for the winner and $100 in a feature spot for the second place.
Cool.
And we do 2 shows on a Friday night, 8 and 8, and then top 4 from each show move on to the finals on Saturday.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Neat. Any other interesting logistics with that? Like who's judging? Is it audience? Is there a panel?
Yeah, we do a panel. I typically have a couple people that are like DJs. So I get a couple radio celebrities. I get the mayor. I'll get like we do have one sponsor. I'll get him to do a spot. It just kind of depends how I feel on the other ones. Last year, I think I used comics that weren't necessarily so close to everybody because I'm a little nervous about using comics that know these people.
Yeah, sure.
And then I do the audience votes. So then I go in there and I have a QR code. So at the end of the show, they vote for their top, people. And then I, have somebody go up and do jokes. And I'm in the back crunching the numbers.
Yeah.
And then we go up and announce it. So it's a ton of fun. It's really cool. And it's just a fun thing to do. I love it. And now that we've grown, I get, more than enough candidates that want to come and perform. And it's really cool to be able to bring in some people that, normally maybe I wouldn't get.
Nice. All right. We got a question from North Carolina. How often do you suggest running shows in towns that are close to one another? Is there a point where you can tell it will negatively affect ticket sales? Now, I think they might be confused and think I think you only run shows in Mahomet, right? So it's more like I can answer that question because I run shows in all kinds of different towns. But I think to spin it a little bit for you, are you concerned at all running 52 weekends a year of shows? And like, how do you navigate? Do you change price points? Like how do you're in a small town. How do you fill your room reliably?
Yeah, that is great question. So thank you, whoever asked that question. Thanks for kind of spinning it. Well, and there's two parts of that. One, I'll just touch on, there are shows that may be going on in Champaign-Urbana, which is 15, 20 minutes away. They don't do them that often. So fortunately, we don't overlap too much. Now, once in a while, they'll have one at a vineyard that's nearby, and we'll have one. And it's just, you just don't know. We don't compare our schedules. It just happens to fall on the same thing. So yeah, that has happened periodically. The other towns, they're kind of far enough away. We don't cannibalize from each other.
Okay.
So definitely that. For me, when I started out, of course, it was, it's every so often we'll have a comedy club. Okay, now it's like every 2 times a month. Okay, well, now we're going to do, so now it's evolved where we're like, okay, we're trying to do it almost every weekend of the month or the year. And, there'll be some weekends we won't. So let's just say 48, weeks of the year. And sometimes you just have to suck it up. And it's really tough because we have local football, local basketball, university football, Final Four, the Fighting Illini, Saturday night, they were in Final Four. Fortunately, I didn't have a game scheduled because it was my daughter's wedding. And so we didn't have to worry about losing people to that. And I would have lost people.
Sure. I was just in Nebraska and the Cornhuskers won their first ever NCAA tournament game. And they made it to the second round, which was Saturday night. And I'd rented an 850 person theater, which is a story for another time, but you can imagine it hurt ticket sales.
Yep. And the weekend before, Illini were actually playing. And so I've tried to do better. I've actually started to keep a run book of every show that I do throughout the year. I write down the show, who was it, who's my host, who's my feature, if I had a guest spot, what else was going on, what were my tickets, what were my walk-ins. So now I've done it for a year. So I'm coming on to that year anniversary. And then there are things like, what about Dad's weekend at the university? Not only do you get hurt on maybe ticket sales, you can't find a hotel for your artist to stay at unless you're going to be $600 a night. So I've been bit by that. So you really kind of got to be smart. Like, okay, I'm always going to do Saturdays, but occasionally I might pivot to a Friday.
Yeah.
Because of that. Now, for me, I think you and I have talked about this, I'm a planner. I like to plan out. Like I like to get my schedule. Well, that university doesn't put their schedule out, and then if they do, they don't even tell you which they'll just say who they're playing, not necessarily if it's a home or away game. And then when you get that, they can change it.
Yeah, totally. So, it's so frustrating.
It is. So, you just try to go like, I got to find somebody that I know has a dedicated following, like it won't matter, and that they'll pull from other places.
Yeah.
Or I have to go, you know what? I have to get somebody that maybe is not that expensive. So I'm not
there you go.
At the cover as much. Maybe it's a more regional comic.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to figure that out. And I'm still learning. So if you got suggestions, I'm all for it.
Well, we're about to wrap up, but offline, I can give you some tips. So let me ask one last question. And then the final question will be, how can people find you, get tickets, et cetera? Yeah. When are you going to open a second location? Is that ever on the planning?
We would love to do the whole boutique / comedy club, because it is kind of a cool thing, because you bring people in the shop. They may see tickets and buy tickets. They come to a show, they buy merchandise. Yeah. So it's kind of a unique combination. So It'll be a little while. I mean, we still have growing pains. As
Yeah.
much as I'd like to say we don't, we still do.
Yep. Sure. Okay. Well, Mike McDermith, Yellow and Co. Everybody, where can they find you?
Yellowandcoevents.com, or of course on Facebook or Instagram. And thank you, Mark, for having me. This has been
Yeah.
great. Really
Of
appreciate it.
course. Stick around for a second. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everybody online who asked questions or posted comments. And we'll see you next Monday on Always Bookin.